Here's a new Rineke Dijkstra catalog. It's entitled Figures, or Figuren in its original German. And it was done at the occasion of an exhibition at the Sprengel Museum in Hannover, Germany. This is my favorite catalog of her work. I think it's actually the only one I own because I don't like any of the others. Now you might be a little surprised, given how relatively small this is, that I would appreciate this. You know, you can see the size of my hand. I don't have particularly large hands. But I think the form and the way they put this together by far surpasses anything I've seen in the other catalogs. I was disappointed by the SF MoMA catalog. I thought that was just incredibly weak and old-fashioned. This catalog was made by Irma Boom, a well-known Dutch book designer and photo book maker. And what they did for this exhibition is they paired Dijkstra's work with images or artworks from the collection of the museum. You already see on the first page here, this is something from the collection. This idea of pairing is not new either. There was an exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art in Frankfurt where they did the same idea, made a catalog, which was okay. I didn't really buy that. This is these are photographs by Ernst Schwitters. This is Kurt Schwitters, if you know who that is. If you don't, then you can look that up. And so this idea of pairing goes through the work, through this book. And you see there are many gatefolds in the book. The bookseller I bought this from complained bitterly about the fact that the display copy she had was getting dog-eared and that it was just an impossible book to sell and what have you. Here's a wonderful pairing with a Kurt Schwitters piece. And then she ordered copies for the bookshop anyway because people loved this book and I wanted to get my own copy, and I had to listen to her complain about this like 5 more times, but I didn't really care. The book is a little expensive in terms of the price. There's like a 42 euro book, which is like 40, I don't know, $8 or something like that. But the production value is very, very high. So it makes up for that, and you really want to buy it because you love it and not because you're cheap. Well, that's what I did anyway. So you see this goes through the history of her work, and not all the time, some of the time gets paired up with other pieces of art from the collection. It's a really good idea. The text in German and English is spread out throughout the book, so you don't get all the text in the beginning, like all these boring catalogs. This pairing is fantastic if you want to see. Just watch the, sorry for the reflection, just watch the pattern. It's just really brilliant, the couch and the pattern and everything. Here's a Max Beckmann. It's a little hard to show with all these gatefolds, but I think you get the idea. So sometimes there's text inside. Actually, this picture is being described by the director of the museum and a 13-year-old German high school student, which I think is a fantastic way of adding text to an art book. I will admit that I haven't had the chance to read the text yet. These are from Crazy House. The Crazy House is possibly my favorite piece ever by Rineke Dijkstra. So these are video stills matched up against the Hans Arp bronzes. Actually, maybe it's just one from 4 directions. I guess it's just one. Okay, more video stills and a Max Beckmann painting. So you see the way these video stills are presented changes up. The format changes ever so slightly, which keeps it engaging. I think that's a sign of good design. These video stills are really marvelous too. I like how they used the bleeding images here to pretend or make us believe that there's just 3 figures in one room. Or it's just the same figure. So there's all these little things you can do with good and smart design, and that's one of the reasons why I always tell photographers to work with a designer. not to over-design a book, but to really get the best out of a book that you possibly can. And sadly, all too often that's not the case. Here's an image that wraps around the gatefold on the other side. This is just, you know, wonderful to see. I mean, your mileage might always vary, but I think it's quite something. Okay, let's see. So a bronze. It's being matched up. Just gonna speed this up a tiny little bit. Here's some of the more of these famous beach portraits. Here's these might have been just snapshots by Ernst Schwitters, of Kurt Schwitters, and it's Gerd Strindberg and Edith Thomas having fun with a water hose in the garden. You can see that. So the figure becomes really small and then matches up against these color lithographs. And then maybe lastly, this is wonderful, of course. Here's a photograph of Terence Simon, a portrait of Terence Simon. And there's Charlotte Dumas, another photographer. And that's more or less the book, with some public support. If you want to find the book, you can probably just find it by Googling the information here. You should be able to get it. Bookdepository.com is a great site to get books delivered that you can't even find on Amazon, and the shipping is always included already. So Rineke Dijkstra, Figuren or Figures.